Well, hi guys. This is part 2 of the Amazon editor's favorite summer reads list of stuff that you should be reading in the summer according to Amazon editors. Who are Amazon's editors? The ones who give all these book reviews. I didn't even know they existed. Anyway, this is part 2. You should go watch part 1 because that was an interesting set of books. This is another interesting set of books, and I'm already seeing a pattern, a theme maybe with these books, in that the covers have some red on them. Apparently, this is a summer read list, so maybe that's why. I don't know if that was on purpose or by mistake. Anyway, the next set of lists has some fantasy, has some more fantasy books in it. So let's begin. By the way, in the last video, the part 1 video, I introduced this book called The Art Thief, and I did look up a little bit about Stephane Brettweiser. I still don't know how to read his name. He's a French art thief. He was active in like the 90s or something, and then he stole like 239 pieces of art from museums and stuff. 239 pieces of art. Oh my gosh. And so this journalist, Michael Finkel, wrote about his heists and stuff. Currently, Stefan Brettweiser is currently, he had a trial in I think it was March of 2023, and he is currently in France on house arrest with an ankle monitor. So he's not in jail. Oh yeah, but he was found guilty on some accounts apparently. There were some, while he was awaiting trial, apparently there were 3 more pieces of art found at his house during the search of his house. So he is quite a thief. He is quite a thief. Anyway, I just wanted to mention that because it's interesting information. So I did kind of allude or say something about this movie that I watched about some art theft or something, art collector movie that was in another language. And no, that movie has nothing to do with this guy because there was no information about the movie when I was looking up about this guy, the Stefan Brettweiser. So they're not the same person. So I was seeing some similarities in stories, but well, an art heist story is quite a good, quite an interesting story. It's a fun story, and people like heist stories anyway. So it's not unusual to see it out there. That's what I want to say. So we are getting into part 2. Starting with, so you might see this line, I still have a few books. That's interesting. Hold on a moment. This must be the second page. So yeah, there was this book on the list that I was scrolling through, The Wager. And then there were some books after this, so that's what we're looking at. We're not looking at the books on this slide yet, but we are going to be looking at them. First book is Kristin Hannah. Now, I read The Nightingale, and I quite liked it. I mean, there were some parts that were a little bit this is really fiction, but anyway. This is on the Amazon charts. I don't know what that is, but it's number 1 this week. And this Amazon charts thing is the reason why I needed to do these look at these books this week and not any other week. So because this week means the week of June 10, 2024, which is exactly this week in which I'm doing this video right now. So you have immediate information. This one is The Women by Kristin Hannah, and it's a over 100,000 ratings on Amazon with a 4.7 stars. That's pretty high. Pretty high. Yeah. 4.7 on Goodreads and 400,000 ratings. Pretty good. It's really good. I think Kristin Hannah is a pretty good writer. She's really good at depicting the struggles of women. So during war. Okay. Women can be heroes. I guess that's the tagline. When 20-year-old nursing student Frankie McGrath hears these words, it is a revelation. Raised in the sun-drenched idyllic world of Southern California and sheltered by her conservative parents, she has always prided herself on doing the right thing. But in 1965, the world is changing. She suddenly dares to imagine a different future for herself. When her brother ships out to serve in Vietnam, she joins the Army Nurse Corps and follows his path. Interesting. This is kind of reminding me, Francis Frankie's journeys are reminding me a little bit of, what was her name? I think her name was Isabel or Isabella in The Nightingale. She wants to go off and somehow help in the war, but her sister is like, no, I don't want you to go, or something like that. Or you shouldn't go, or it's too dangerous, or whatever. I feel like that's what happened. Or she couldn't go for some other reason. Dangerous reason. Anyway, let's read on. As green and inexperienced as the men set to Vietnam to fight, Frankie is overwhelmed by the chaos and destruction of war. Each day is a gamble of life and death, hope and betrayal. Friendships run deep and can be shattered in an instant. In war, she meets and becomes one of the lucky, the brave, the broken, and the lost. But war is just the beginning for Frankie and her veteran friends. The real battle lies in coming home to a changed and divided America, to angry protesters, and to a country that wants to forget Vietnam. I see. The Women is the story of one woman gone to war, but shines a light on all women who put themselves in harm's way and whose sacrifice and commitment to their country has too often been forgotten. A novel about deep friendships and bold patriotism. The Women is a richly drawn story with a memorable heroine whose idealism and courage under fire will come to define an era. I see. The Nightingale was kind of similar like this, shining light on the women during war. What war was that? World War II? I think so. It was in Europe, taking place in Europe, I believe. World War II, I think. Kristin Hannah, so she has a theme in her books. By the way, I really like this cover. It's red with this gold. It's very bright and bold, but also pretty, and nice. Anyway, that is that. Am I interested in this book? You know, I like Kristin Hannah, so I did get another book of hers. I can't remember which book it was, but I did get another book of hers. So, I mean, if I like that book, you know, I might be interested in this book too. I mean, it's nice reading about women as being a woman. Anyway, yeah. Is this a summer read? I don't know. Why not? Why not? So, okay. Moving on. This next book is Funny Story by Emily Henry, author of Happy Place. Yeah, so this is a very blue book. I'm not very fond of this blue. I don't know. I don't read these types of books, rom-coms and stuff. This is on the Amazon charts at number 3 this week. So, yeah, Kristin Hannah's is on number 1, which is, I guess, pretty good. I don't know. 30,000 ratings with a 4.5 on Amazon and 4.3 on Goodreads with over 200,000 ratings. I don't actually know how reliable these ratings are, but, I mean, maybe it gives you some idea. Let's see. Daphne has always loved the way her fiancé Peter told their story. How they met on a blustery day, fell in love over an errant hat, and moved back to his lakeside hometown to begin their life together. He really was good at telling it, ... right up until the moment he realized he was actually in love with his childhood best friend, Petra. which is how Daphne begins her new story. Stranded in beautiful Waning Bay, Michigan, without friends or family, but with a dream job as a children's librarian that barely pays the bills, and proposing to be roommates with the only person who could possibly understand her predicament. Petra's ex, Miles Nowak. Scruffy and chaotic, with a penchant for taking solace in the sounds of heartbreak love ballads, Miles is exactly the opposite of practical, buttoned up Daphne, whose co-workers know so little about her they have a running bet that she is either FBI or in witness protection. The roommates mainly avoid one another until one day, while drowning their sorrows, they form a tenuous friendship and a plan. If said plan also involves posting deliberately misleading photos of their summer adventures together, well, who could blame them? But it's all just for show, of course, because there's no way Daphne would actually start her new chapter by falling in love with her ex-fiance's new fiance's ex, right? Okay, this is definitely a rom-com. I'm not big on rom-coms, but I've never read anything by Emily Henry. I mean, if she's funny, like Sophie Kinsella, who also does rom-coms, and I just really loved Sophie Kinsella, especially after reading 20s Girl, and then I just impulse buy whatever I could get my hands on at the time, and I loved every single one of the books. It's just so ridiculous. I don't know if Emily Henry style is. I don't know what point of view it's in or anything. Not really fond of this really bright blue cover situation. And these big, bold, white fonts. Big, bold, white fonts. It just, with this illustration style, it just screams rom-com at me. Anyway, kind of like, I don't know, mild interest. Who knows? But if the writing style is my style, well, maybe I would be interested in it. So, in case you haven't watched part 1, by the way, this is all my reactions and stuff. How do I like the cover, and reading the blurb, what I think about the blurb, and if I'd be interested in reading or not. Will I add it to my wish list or whatever? So, are you interested? Do you read rom-coms? Do you have a favorite author you like to read? Have you read Emily Henry's books? Let me know. So the next book, I was actually kind of shocked, okay? This book is very short. I mean, compare the blurbs to funny story, right? Look at the screen, funny story, blurb, and this next one. It's just, this is it. It's going to be turned into a Netflix series, apparently. So, this is One Day by David Nicholls. 10,000 ratings. It's not that many ratings. A 4.3 on Amazon and 3.8 on Goodreads with 300,000 ratings. I don't know what that tells you. It's 1988 and Dexter Mayhew and Emma Morley have only just met. But after only one day together, they cannot stop thinking about one another. Over 20 years, snapshots of that relationship are revealed on the same day, July 15th of each year. They face squabbles and fights, hopes and missed opportunities, laughter and tears. Dex and Em must come to grips with the nature of love and life itself. As the years go by, the true meaning of this one crucial day is revealed. Oh, okay. I don't know. I mean, I've read that and I thought, yeah, okay. So, what is the point of this book? I mean, maybe it's an interesting book. I mean, I feel like this would look interesting as a film situation. It would be interesting to see like little snapshots of people during certain moments of their life, and then in the end of the movie, you find out what the crucial day is. But as a book, I don't know. I'm not particularly wowed about the idea, and I don't know. Speaking of snippets of a person's life, the girl on the train was kind of like that. But there was a sort of mystery behind it, because while we were seeing snippets of someone's life, we were also looking at the main character, which I forgot what's her name. What was her name? Rachel or something like that. And her sort of mystery and her life and what's going on with her, and then gradually just piecing together, and then everything starts flowing, and now we're in the present day and like what's going to happen. Oh my gosh. I quite like that book. I know some people don't like it because for various reasons. That some people find triggering, but I like that book. I quite liked it. I mean, sometimes it's a little bit hard to get into sometimes, but I mean, I liked it. The ending was a twist. But just hearing that I'm just going to see little snapshots of people's lives and they're going on their normal day, and then we find out what this crucial day is. I don't know. I'm not particularly interested. That's a me thing. The title, One Day. I get it. It's just one day. We're just gonna see one day. Two people over 20 years. Okay. I mean, there's really not much here. I mean, good for you. You got a Netflix series, but there's really not much here. I hope it does good in the Netflix series, because I think this will be an interesting thing on film, as I said. Maybe it was written for film. Maybe. Anyway, apparently, summer read. Maybe it's a summer read because a Netflix series is coming out in the summer. Maybe that's why it's a summer read. Or it already came out. I don't know. I didn't look into that. Okay, the next story. Okay, this character in this book is also called Daphne. It's the same main character name as in A Funny Story by Emily Henry that we had just looked at. So, is there some kind of a trend with the name Daphne now? Is that the next name trend in rom-com and stuff? I don't know. Anyway, this book is called Expiration Dates by Rebecca Serle. I think it's Serle or Serle or Serle. I don't know. 4.0 with 3,000 ratings on Amazon. Huh. It's not much as the other ones. 30,000 ratings with 3.7 on Goodreads. It's an editor's pick in Best Literature and Fiction. So, Daphne Bell believes the universe has a plan for her. Every time she meets a new man, she receives a slip of paper with his name and a number on it. The exact amount of time they will be together. The papers told her she'd spend... How does she receive this slip of paper? Does she receive a slip of paper from him or what? The papers told her she'd spend 3 days with Martin in Paris, 5 weeks with Noah in San Francisco, and 3 months with Hugo, her ex-boyfriend turned best friend. Daphne has been receiving the numbered papers for over 20 years, always wondering when there might be one without an expiration. Finally, the night of a blind date at her favorite Los Angeles restaurant. There's only a name, Jake. But as Jake and Daphne's story unfolds, Daphne finds herself doubting the paper's prediction and wrestling with what it means to be both committed and truthful, because Daphne knows things Jake doesn't. Information that, if he found out, would break his heart. Interesting. Daphne knows things Jake doesn't, information that if he found out would break his heart. When I'm seeing that, I'm starting to wonder if it's going to be like a duopov at some point. Because if he found out, it would break his heart. She knows information that Jake doesn't. Information that if she told her might break his heart. Might have a better way of saying it if it was just Daphne's perspective. But maybe I'm just being picky here. I am very confused because how does she receive... I assume that when it says his name and a number on it, I assume that it was his name and his number on it, which is how I read it the first time, I think. I'm like, why would a phone number be the amount of time that they will be together. Like how does she receive this slip of paper? I'm not, it's not like I'm interested in how she receives the paper. I'm confused. And when I read a blurb and I'm confused, I tend to not pick up the book. Like, what? Huh? How? What? I'm just too confused to even bother with it. I feel like, I mean, maybe that's my personal thing. I'm not particularly interested or stuff like that, but I feel like I've heard the name Rebecca Serle. I haven't heard this other book that she apparently wrote called In 5 Years. I haven't heard that book, but I feel like I've heard the name somewhere. I don't know where. I don't know. The book is pink and green. I mean, the book cover is pink and green. I don't know. I like the cover. It looks like a nice little watercolor landscape with palm trees. I guess this is Los Angeles, and the fluttering papers are the slips of papers that she receives somehow. I don't know. I'm not sure what I feel about this book. Anyway, what do you think? I mean, the premise is kind of interesting. I'm just confused. Okay, so we're getting into the next book is by Blacktop Wasteland by S.A. Cosby. Let's see. About 10,000 ratings, 4.3 on Amazon, a 4.1 Goodreads with 40,000 ratings. Not that high as some other books, although it is an editor's pick in Best Mystery Thriller and Suspense on Amazon. A husband, a father, a son, a business owner, and the best getaway driver east of the Mississippi. Oh my gosh, what is his name? Beauregard Bug Montage is an honest mechanic. What kind of, I've never seen a name like that in my entire life. Honest mechanic, a loving husband, and a hardworking dad. Bug knows there's no future in the man he used to be, known from the hills of North Carolina to the beaches of Florida as the best wheelman on the East Coast. He thought he'd left all that behind him, but as his carefully built new life begins to crumble, he finds himself drawn inexorably back into a world of blood and bullets when a smooth-talking former associate comes calling with a can't-miss jewelry store heist. Bug feels he has no choice but to get back in the driver's seat. And Bug is at his best, where the scent of gasoline mixes with the smell of fear. Haunted by the ghost of who he used to be and the father who disappeared when he needed him most, Bug must find a way to navigate this blacktop wasteland or die trying. Like Ocean's 11 meets Drive with a southern noir twist, S.A. Cosby's Blacktop Wasteland is a theory, operatic story of a man pushed to his limits by poverty, race, and his former life of crime. That actually sounds interesting. I thought I might not be interested in this one. But I'm actually kind of interested. It's reminded me a little bit of this movie. Was it called Baby Driver or Baby or something like that? So there's this young guy, and his nickname is Baby. And he's like super fast, but he always has to put on all like loud music in his ears for some reason. And for some reason, I kind of sort of don't remember. He was being used as like a getaway driver. Anyway, it was reminding me a little bit of that. And seems kind of interesting. It's about a guy who used to be a getaway driver, and then he finds himself back in the job, and he has to navigate his two lives and stuff. That sounds kind of interesting. That sounds quite interesting. Yeah. I might actually take a look. I'm not like fully sold on this. I will take a look at the maybe first page or something. It says like Ocean's 11 meets Drive. I don't know what Drive is. I know what Ocean's 11 is. Sort of, kind of. I don't know. I don't like when books like say like something meets something, because what if I don't know either of them? You can't rely on that, people. You really can't rely on that. Like something means something. I mean, I know some people like it because then maybe they recognize a book and they recognize another book and they say, oh, I like both of those, so I might like this one. And then sometimes they don't. It's a risk. Or they don't know either of the things. So the blurb really has to sell, okay? You can't be relying on comparing or saying something crossed with something or like something means something. You can't keep doing that. I'd rather that books don't do that. In fact, I'd rather they not do it at all. But anyway, it's a preference thing probably. I do like that part that says Blacktop Wasteland is a searing operatic story of a man pushed to his limits by poverty, race, and his own former life of crime. I mean, that sounds interesting. That part, you could keep that part in. You could keep that part in. That would be interesting. Anyway, I am kind of interested. The cover is also red and yellow. We passed a bunch of red and yellow, pinkish orange books before. This is one, the Emily Henry one was blue. I guess that's kind of summery. I don't know. But anyway, this one is also reddish, yellowish, summery read, I guess. I don't know. Maybe this takes place in the summer. I don't know. Anyway, moving on to a very famous and slightly controversial, many people love it and many people hated it, Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. Yay! Clap, 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 clap. I'm never interested in ACOTAR, but that's how I read it. How do you read it? ACOTAR. ACOTAR. I don't know. Anyway, this is the acronyms, that is. I watched Reads with Cindy. I think, yeah, her. I reacted to her. Not reacted. I watched her review all the books. So I know the story. Wow, it's a story that I am not interested in. I know it's we're kind of going to this phase of this fae stuff being really sort of overly done, just like we went through the vampires with Twilight, and then the dystopian rebellious government dealing things with the Hunger Games. So, we're going through another like trend that is going to be just oversaturated to the utmost limits and beyond. I am tired of seeing anything with fae. I am not interested either, but I'm not interested. I'm not interested unless you're able to really, really sell it to me as being somehow unique from the others. But so, A Court of Thorns and Roses is book one of the series, A Court of Thorns and Roses. And Amazon charts number 3 this week. We have another number 3. What was the number 3 before this one? Oh, come on. Move. Okay. Other number 3 was Emily Henry. So it's on Amazon charts number 3 with Emily Henry's Funny Story. Over 200,000 ratings on Amazon with 4.6. And boy, oh my gosh. 2 million ratings. If you go over 100,000, that's million, right? Yeah. 2 million ratings on Goodreads, 4.2, which is, I guess, pretty good, I think. Okay, so when 19-year-old Huntress Fire, how do you say her name? Fire? Is it Fire? Fire. I see her name has Faye in it. Okay. Fire kills a wolf in the woods. A terrifying creature arrives to demand retribution. Dragged to a treacherous magical land she knows about only from legends, Fear discovers that her captor is not truly a beast, but one of the lethal immortal fairies who once ruled her world. At least, he's not a beast all the time. What does that mean? As she adapts to her new home, her feelings for the fairy Tamlin transform from icy hostility into a fiery passion that burns through every lie she's been told about the beautiful, dangerous world of the Fae. But something is not right in the fairy lands. An ancient wicked shadow is growing, and Fear must find a way to stop it or doom Tamlin what is this hyphen and his world hyphen forever. I don't know what happened with this blurb. It's somehow being glitchy. I don't know, but it was like this when I found it. That is so weird. What is this? These weird dash hyphen things in the middle there. From best-selling author Sarah J. Maas comes a seductive, breathtaking book that blends romance, adventure, and fairy lore into an unforgettable read. Apparently unforgettable in a good way and not so good way. Well, I am not interested in this book at all. And because of that, that is why I watched someone give a super in-depth, spoilery review of the entire series. And yeah, and I'm not going to read this book. I am not interested. Reading about these sort of romancy books. There's a lot of romance and adult romance stuff in here I'm not interested in. I guess this book was like the start of the big boom of romantasy. Anyway, have you read this book? Do you like it? I mean, it's okay if you like it. It's not like I'm not gonna like you if you like it. You can like it, it's fine. I'm just not interested. Anyway. The next book is Children of Blood and Bone. Okay, it's one of those books with the something of the something and the something. Craze. This one's been around for a while. 20,000 ratings and 4.6 rating on Amazon. 4.1 on Goodreads with 200,000 ratings. It's the book 1 of 3 in the Legacy of Orisha. This has an interesting tag. It says Teacher's Pick. I thought, that's interesting. There's a tag called Teacher's Pick. Interesting. This book is by Tomi Adeyemi. I really don't know how to say the last name. Tomi Adeyemi. Anyway, I probably butchered that name. Zeli Adebola remembers when the soil of Orisha hummed with magic. Burners ignited flames, tiders beckoned waves, and Zeli's Reaper Mother summoned forth souls. I almost read that as summoned 4 souls, but summoned forth souls, okay. But everything changed the night magic disappeared under the orders of a ruthless king. Magi were killed, leaving Zeli without a mother and her people without hope. Now Zeli has one chance to bring back magic and strike against the monarchy. With the help of a rogue princess, Zeli must outwit and outrun the crowned prince, who is hell-bent on eradicating magic for good. Danger lurks in Orisha, where snow lepanaires prowl and vengeful spirits wait in the waters. Yet the greatest danger may be Zeli herself, as she struggles to control her powers and her growing feelings for an enemy. Okay, so she has growing feelings for the crown prince? Perhaps. So, The Children of Blood and Bone. I remember this book was called like the fantasy book with a POC character, and it really brought to light the sort of POC characters into fantasy, and it became like the book that sort of put POC characters in fantasy, and so then more books with POC characters in fantasy started coming up, so it was a good like pioneer or something like that. That's what I've heard. I personally, at the time this book came out, okay, I wasn't particularly interested in the sort of the fantasy at the time. I wasn't particularly interested in it. I was interested in other books. I wasn't doing a lot of reading then. I don't know. I just and the something of the something and the something was really getting on my nerves too. There was another one. Something of something and thorns or something like that. I wasn't particularly interested in this. When I saw another title, I was like, I'm not interested. And then it was all this thing, the POC character, and I thought, I don't know, this book isn't for me, aimed at me or anything, so I don't know, maybe I'll read it someday, but, anyway, maybe I'll read it someday. I'm not particularly also interested in starting a new series. I have a bunch that I'm already working on right now, so I don't think I'll be getting into this book series. I don't know, maybe someday in the future when people have moved on to other books, and then I sort of dig up an old not old classic, but a book that was famous like years ago and read it and like, oh yeah, I see how good this was. This was pretty good. Anyway, yeah. Anyway, as a suppose what I've heard, pioneer of POC characters in fantasy books, I've heard good things. I've heard good things about this series. I should probably look to see if anyone did a book review on this. Maybe I would be a bit more interested in reading it. I have a long TBR though. I have to really get through that before I buy any more books. But this book is a summer read of 2024, Amazon editors say. Interesting. Going to the next one, this is All the Worst Humans. This is a #1 new release in biographies of political leaders. Now, this guy called Phil Elwood. Tagline is How I Made News for Dictators, Tycoons, and Politicians. So this is going to be, this is an interesting choice. Okay. After nearly 2 decades in the Washington PR press, Elwood wants to come clean by exposing the dark underbelly of the very industry that's made him so successful. The first step is revealing exactly what he's been up to for the past 20 years. And it isn't pretty. Elwood has worked for a murderer's row of questionable clients, including Gaddafi, Assad, and the government of Qatar. In All the Worst Humans, Elwood unveils how the PR business works and how the truth gets made, spun, and sold to the public, not shying away from the gritty details of his unlikely career. This is a piercing look into the corridors of money, power, politics, and control, all told in Elwood's disarmingly funny and entertaining voice. He becomes a 4-day Las Vegas bacchanal. What's a bacchanal? With his dictator's son plotting communication strategies against a terrorist organization in West Africa. Oh my gosh. And helping to land a Middle Eastern dictator's wife, a glowing profile in Vogue, on the same time the Arab Spring broke out, and he reveals all his slippery tricks for seducing journalists in order to create chaos and ultimately cover for politicians, dictators, and spies. The industry's secret tactics that led to his rise as a political PR pro. Oh my gosh. That is wild. Along the way, Phil walks the halls of the Capitol, rides in armored cars across Abuja, is that how you read it? And watches his client lose his annual income at the roulette table. But as he moved up the ranks, he felt worse and worse about the sleaziness of it all, until Elwood receives a shocking wake-up call from the FBI. Oh my gosh. This risky game nearly cost Elwood his life and his freedom. Seeing the light, Elwood decides to change his ways and his clients, and to tell the full truth about who is the worst human. Oh my gosh. Somebody is airing out their laundry. Or how you say that. And this is a summer read, and it has red and yellow on it. Apparently, it's a warm color for the summer, I suppose. This is going to be a heated, hot thing, I suppose. This thing. If you read this book, I have a feeling you're not going to see the world in the same way again. That's what I feel. That's what I feel after reading this blurb. This is the inside guy of all the insider guys. This is the guy on the inside of all the insides. This will be interesting. I am curious of how other people will be reviewing this book. I'm curious about that. I don't know personally myself reading this book. I'm not particularly interested in reading it. I'm interested in hearing what other people will think about it. Let me know what you think. Are you interested in reading this for your summer of 2024? Anyway, the next book. I need a drink of water. This is a #1 bestseller in teen and young adult biography ebooks. That's very specific. I've seen this book around, actually. Educated. I've seen this pencil around. Educated, a memoir by Tara Westover. It has 200,000 ratings on Amazon with a 4.6 and 4.5 on Goodreads with over 1 million ratings. Born to survivalists in the mountains of Idaho, Tara Westover was 17 the first time she set foot in a classroom. Her family was so isolated from mainstream society that there was no one to ensure that children received an education, and no one intervened when one of Tara's older brothers became violent. When another brother got himself into college, Tara decided to try a new kind of life. Her quest for knowledge transformed her, taking her over oceans and across continents to Harvard and to Cambridge University. Only then would she wonder if she traveled too far, if there was still a way home. Interesting. This is about her own story, getting an education, everything. Sounds pretty interesting. I don't know if I'd be interested in reading it, but I like to know what other people think about it. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not particularly interested. This is not to say that I'm not interested in Tara Westover. I'm just not particularly interested at the moment in reading like a memoir. But who knows, maybe someday. I feel like this is a book that I might someday read. I feel like that. The cover is fun. It's a pencil. And then when you look at it very carefully, it's like a girl on the mountains. That's pretty clever. That's a pretty clever cover. It's a clever cover. It's a clover. What am I saying? Anyway, the next book. We're moving on. The next book. This is a series. When I saw how long this series was, I was like, oh my gosh, there are 7 books in this series. A series called Eddie Flynn. It's The Defense by Stephen Cavanagh. I'm kind of proud of myself that I can read that last name. Cavanagh. I think it is right, Cavanagh. There's a bunch of words on this cover, and I think it's pretty interesting to have all these words here because it makes me very interested. It says lawyer, husband, father, con artist, hustler, criminal. So I'm actually pretty interested. This seems like a interesting book. With con artists, I'm pretty interested in con artists. They're a very interesting bunch. I watch a lot of documentaries about con artists. Especially after I watched that movie Catch Me If You Can. And then I read up on the real story and everything. And heard that he could still be lying. Con artists are just something else quite interesting. Okay, Eddie Flynn used to be a con artist. Then he became a lawyer. Turns out the two aren't that different. Former con artist turned lawyer Eddie Flynn gave up the law a year ago after a disastrous case, and he vowed never to step foot in a courtroom again. But now he doesn't have a choice. The head of the Russian mob in New York City, on trial for murder, has kidnapped Eddie's 10-year-old daughter. Eddie has to take this case, whether he likes it or not. Okay, I see. Using his razor-sharp wit and every con, bluff, grift, and trick in the book, Eddie has only 48 hours to defend an impossible murder trial, and if he loses this case, he loses everything. Okay, so they took his daughter as blackmail or ransom or something like that, so that he will be forced to try to defend this Russian mob guy. Oh my gosh. I think I would rather watch this as a movie than read it as a book. It sounds like something that would make more sense to me reading if it was a movie, because all this lawyer stuff, it's just a whole lot, unless Steve Cavanagh is very good at making it an easy read. I'd rather watch a movie if it's lawyer stuff, because it makes more sense when I see it visually, everything going down and stuff like that. When I read it, it's a lot. And the reason I'm able to say this, because there's a large, lengthy courtroom scene in where the crawdads sing. And I'm not going to tell you exactly why there's a courtroom scene, but it goes on for quite some time. There's a lot of court details and jargon and things that go on, and just people are just going on and on and on. And I was kind of bored at that part a little bit and confused, and it was a lot. And I wish that it was, and I don't know, I just couldn't get my mind around it. I really prefer watching that rather than reading it personally. So this is something that I would rather watch than read, I think, or hear someone else talk about it, because just stuff like that goes right. I just can't deal with it. It's just a lot. Okay. This is another book with red in it. I'm seeing a trend here. People recommending summer reads. The covers have red in it. I do like the cover though. It's interesting. It has all these keywords in it that makes this guy Eddie Flynn, I guess. I'm curious as to why this is a series, and I'm also curious as if it's still ongoing or not. So it's actually the last book. And I like this cover. Okay, but get this. Okay. This is the best of Booktok. And when I hear about Booktok, I'm like, oh my gosh. This is going to be either a really good book, a really hyped book, but not good book. I don't really know. Because, Booktok can be all kinds of things. And another thing I realized on this book, okay, it's Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan. The book cover is gorgeous. I love the cover with the orange and the blue on it. Very summery, nice yellow, okay. And on the book cover, there is a little bit of a comment by Colleen Hoover. And Colleen Hoover is kind of problematic, controversial kind of thing. Some people love her books. Other people find it problematic of all the DV and stuff and emotional abuse, all kinds of stuff that she writes about. And the weird things that she says about abusive relationships and stuff like that. So that Colleen Hoover backs this up. I'm not sure if I would be interested in reading it based on just that. Also based on the fact that it seems to be hyped on Booktok. I don't know. By the way, it's book 1 of 2 of a series called Skyland. 10,000 ratings on Amazon, 4.6, and 4.4 on Goodreads with 60,000 ratings. I guess that's pretty good. I don't know. Their love was supposed to last forever, but when life delivered blow after devastating blow, Yasmin and Josiah Wade found that love alone couldn't solve or save everything. It couldn't save their marriage. Yasmin wasn't prepared for how her life fell apart, but there is a typo here. She's starting to find joy again. She's finally starting to find joy again. She and Josiah have found a new rhythm, co-parenting their 2 kids and running a thriving business together. Yet like magnets, they're always drawn back to each other, and now they're beginning to wonder if they're truly ready to let go of everything they once had. Soon one stolen kiss leads to another, ... and then one more. It's hot, it's illicit, it's all good. Until old wounds reopen. Is it too late for them to find forever? Or could they even be better the second time around? Okay. I can kind of see why Colleen Hoover might like this. Kind of see. Okay, so I haven't read any Colleen Hoover books, but I've listened to the reviews and stuff about them. Spoiler reviews about them. Well, this isn't the book for me. It's a pretty cover. But Booktok, you aren't going to fool me again. Book hype, you're not going to fool me again, book hype. Because the first time I was fooled was Shadow and Bone, and that series was just, oh my gosh. The characters annoyed me. The plot had holes. The main character was whiny. I did not like. The cover was pretty. That was it. The world building was cool, but that was it. Okay, well, I don't know. Before I let go, it could be a good book. It could actually be a good book. But I just don't trust Booktok. I don't really trust the words of Colleen Hoover because of what she writes. So, yeah. That is the last book. Best of Booktok. Had to be on the summer reads list of 2024. Did it. Okay. Well, let me know if you've read this book. It's not going to be a book that I'm going to read. I'm not particularly interested in struggling marriage, people, relationship, getting back together kind of stuff, romance type books. I'm not really interested in those sort of things, but maybe some people do like it. I know some people do. Anyway, so I looked at, can we go back? Okay, let's go back. I looked at Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan, The Defense by Stephen Cavanagh, Educated by Tara Westover, All the Worst Humans. This seems to be a wild book by Phil Elwood. Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. I think that's how you say the name. A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. Blacktop Wasteland by S.A. Cosby. Expiration Dates by Rebecca Serle. One Day by David Nicholls. Funny Story by Emily Henry. And The Women by Kristin Hannah. And that is all the books of part 2. And that also concludes the entire list of Amazon's summer reads for 2024. Amazon Editor summer reads for 2024. This is what they want you to pick from for your summer. Are you going to pick any of these books? Out of part 2, I think I would be interested in Blacktop Wasteland. And yeah, that's it. Blacktop Wasteland that I would actually possibly get and put in my wish list. So that is the end. Finally, it is the end of all. Which ones do you want? And also let me know, what are your favorite genres, and if you have any books that you plan to read in the summer, any of these books you want to read. Do you have any recommendations for summer reads this year? Let me know in the comments and down below. And I hope you have a lovely day or night wherever you are, and I will see you. I won't see you, and you won't see me, but you will hear me in the next video. That was a wild ride. The fox is out.